On the 4th of June 2026, I received 2 comments on my video, Eros, the greatest album never released, that confused the hell out of me. It was from an account named Def Secrets 2, which said, Smile is a song titled Dallas. The YouTube song dubbed Dallas is actually called Brianna. He also replied to another viewer to clarify that while there is a song called Tempest on Koinoyokan, there is a track titled Trempest on Eros. Now, this second comment was technically known from before because bassist Chi Cheng himself was excited about the track. He said to Blabbermouth in June 2008, "It's heavy as fuck with a shitload of groove, and even though it's been driving me crazy as it runs through my insomniatic brain, I am really excited. I always say this shit, but I truly believe this album to be well worth the wait and appreciate all your support and kind loyalty. The idea of finishing the album and getting out to play in front of y'all is a nice light at the end of my tunnel." Not gonna lie, reading that last part gave me the chills, even though I had already read this quote in the previous video on this album. Like I said, we knew Trempest was a track, but we didn't know that the song Chino released a year after Chi's passing that we knew as Smile was actually titled Dallas, and that the snippet we knew as Dallas was actually titled Brianna. So when I got that comment, I didn't know what to do with it. Was it a clout chaser trying to seem cool? A genuinely confused dude tweaked out of his mind? No. He was someone who had obtained the greatest album never released. He had obtained Eros. The Eros thread hosted on sharinglongs.com has been the hub of Eros-related goofs and gaffs since March 2010. It was created by Vesanik, the same guy who created the Deftones live YouTube channel, RIP. RIP to the channel, not him, he's still alive. In order to talk about the status of Eros. For the next 16 years, the thread would be a revolving door of quotes from the band on the album being released, the album not being released, people faking that they had the album, broken links, fears that the album would never be released, dreams of how good it could be, the belief that Diamond Eyes is Eros, what the album art was gonna be, Dallas aka Smile, Brianna aka Dallas, getting a clean rip of Melanie, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Interestingly, a user named Tokyo Drifter created a separate topic called Bearing Gifts on January 17, 2015 at 1 a.m. Eastern, saying, "Don't say I never gave you anything," and shared a YouTube vid of an Eros jam session with a whole bunch of sounds that never made it onto the album, but then kicks into what we know today as Brianna. Gee, I wonder who that could have been. The Dallas confusion is clear. It was just a mistaken fan who happened to call it Dallas, and we all just ran with it. The clip didn't make it to the Deftones subreddit until 5 p.m. later that day. And this is pretty much why the Redditors hate the Sharing Longs users. Gatekeeping, and some are just rude if you say the wrong thing. Then it got somewhat quiet back in the Eros topic in the 2020s, with only a few posts a year, spiking when Chino said to The Guardian that Eros, quote, will most likely never see the light of day. And when Chino was on Mixlr and people recorded some clips hoping he was teasing us with a new snippet to cream our pants to for the next decade. But everything changed in May 2026, when an Eros snippet was being shared as far as Facebook and TikTok. Sharing Longs members were getting stoked. Enter Meet Me at the Garden, a new member who, on May 8, 2026, claimed to have Eros for sale, but was only selling it to one buyer. On May 12, he said it had been sold, but he had other stuff for sale. On May 18, Meet Me at the Garden once again advertised having stuff, but ultimately all this became was a dick measuring contest for who had the real shit. But no one actually whipped their dick out. the most they did was post dick pics. That is until some more snippets were released on June 21st, this time of Melanie, Electro, and Brianna. Interestingly, someone asked who Def Secrets is. And finally, on June 22nd, Meet Me at the Garden says enough at 11 p.m. Eastern. 2 hours later, a brand new account named 10,000 Days, I guess is a tool guy, leaks Eros to the members of Sharing Lungs, dedicating it to Chi Chang. And at approximately 5 a.m., Eros was leaked to the world on the YouTube channel Killer X. Eros had finally been leaked, almost 17 years after being officially shelved. The blogs went crazy, Reddit went berserk, but fans were torn. On the one hand, every Deftones fan had been looking forward to this day, but it was bittersweet. Of course, the release of Eros was going to be a national holiday, but a leak of a 75 to 80% completion of perhaps 6 tracks? Well, that's the thing. The album was much further along than we were led to believe, and it definitely wasn't an EP. Yes, some guitars were missing, some lyrics were missing, and some songs lacked a certain inventiveness at the back end of the track. But what really divided the fan base was that whoever sold Eros stole Eros. I find it odd that after Deftones, minus one member, sold their share of master recording royalties and publishing rights to Warner Music, the leak occurred. Granted, the deal was done over the course of 2 years, so we don't know exactly when it was finalized, but I don't believe it's a coincidence. Especially because Eros wasn't the only Deftones material that leaked. Also, is this why Sergio got cut? Because the deal was reportedly somewhere between $40 to $75 million. As I said, fans were torn. Some were ecstatic that a day many believed would never come had finally arrived, while others said it wasn't a day of celebration, it was a day of mourning because an unfinished Eros was shopped around before being released against the band's wishes. Some felt it was disrespectful to the band to listen to something that they didn't wish to be released, while others chastised the self-righteous, firmly believing that after their soapbox sermon, they'd be digging into some Sable and Margot just like the rest of the fan base. But I truly believe there are some who are taking a principled stance to never listen to an Eros track unless it is released by the band, or at least a band member, as Chino did for what we know today as Dallas, aka Smile. But even this group was divided. Not only were they pissed at Meet Me at the Garden, some were pissed at anyone who bought from him, as they believed the buyers were violating the band and gatekeeping the album from others, even if they were archivists like Deftones Archive, who spend their money to get videos to share online for all the fans to enjoy for free. Obviously, Eros would be a different context. They couldn't share this freely as they did the concert vids and live shows due to potential litigation. Deftones Archive shared on Reddit that they were approached from as early as April 18, 2026 with the sale of Eros, as were other Deftones fans, and eventually they settled on a price. Unfortunately, after a later promise of all Deftones soundboards from 1997 to present for a different but also undisclosed fee, they were scammed. Meet Me at the Garden, aka Still 98, threatened to dox Deftones Archive if he continued to press the matter. Many sided with Deftones Archive, empathizing for the loss, thanking them for providing content ever since Deftones Live went dark, and chastising the suspected leaker, Still 98, aka Meet Me at the Garden, for violating. Others, however, wished to give the leaker the Peace Prize, because the community saw him as the source of the Holy Grail. Perhaps he was faking the soundboards from around the fur. Perhaps. But he certainly didn't fake the fabled Eros. Not to mention, how else can we explain the sudden demos from Ohms featuring a B-side named Sensations, the Crest leak from the Gore sessions, and Dallas vocal takes featuring Luke? Who the hell is Luke? He had some good ideas. How anyone would fail to link the sale to Warner Group as the vulnerability that led to all of this is beyond me, especially because of why it got leaked. Still 98, aka Meet Me, could have sat on his newfound wealth because several people bought Eros from him, but that's not what happened. Turns out, people were reselling Eros, potentially at a profit, and dude said, nah, let the people eat. So it looks like his piece price has to be revoked because the only reason it leaked was because he decided that others shouldn't profit from his ill-gotten gains. This is exactly why this entire debacle cannot excuse the theft, and to be fair, I don't think anyone was really saying that. But if the music was never going to see the light of day, rotting away on a hard drive in a Warner Group basement because the frontman said so, maybe we should respect that. Ultimately, it isn't ours.
Ask you this, yeah, and I can't find this out there. Is it true that Deftones album leaked and it had to get scraped from the internet like overnight?
I don't know if it's been scraped from the internet or not, but and I don't know to what extent it's leaked, but every record of ours since White Pony has leaked.
Let's just say, for instance, you're in New York, in Harlem on 125th Street, you will see everybody's album out there bootlegged. And reason being is because somebody on the inside at the label or maybe the recording studio is, the leak.
Yeah, somewhere in the chain. But the reality is now people have the internet available and you can share stuff instantly. So
once it gets on the web,
it's gone.
Yeah, it's done.
Somebody send me the link, please.
Wow.
It's on YouTube. You can
Wow. What a day.
Hold on, what'd you say, Ray?
You can actually hear some of those demos and Eros tracks.
Yeah, they've been on YouTube though for a long time.
Now I understand.
I mean, I don't know how.
That's how I listen to them.
Our Kush track.
I mean, I know that Steph seems to be cool about it, and I guess we can assume how Chino feels about it, but we haven't heard from Abe or Frank yet. We didn't know Chi personally, so as much as we assume he'd be cool if we all heard it, we really don't know. Considering the professionalism of the band, isn't it understandable that they would want us to have a completed project? Something that they can feel proud to stand behind? So, for example, if my project files for this video got leaked, that isn't me at my best, is it? Not to mention the vulnerability I'd feel in knowing that someone close to me, whether known or unknown, would release it without my permission. I would feel like it would undercut my mission and responsibility to you guys, and I was powerless to stop it. So yeah. My favorite track is Candy. Let me tell you why. At the end of the day, if you cultivate a highly dedicated fan base, a highly dedicated fan base is what you will receive. The fans did not listen to Eros because we were desperate to disrespect the band. The fans were not begging around the internet for a link to the album because they can't wait to disparage the band's efforts. The fans were not saving their money to buy the album and spending their time and energy trying to remaster the unmastered tracks because they despised the band. That's not why we listened to Eros. We listened to Eros because we love and adore Deftones. You can make it more complicated if you wish. And we can pontificate on the moral dubiousness of listening to an album that was stolen after being shelved for 17 years. Yet the intrigue of the album never waned. Deftones, we love you. And despite the negative circumstances around the release of this album, we love you even more. We love you like Steph loves sativa in the summertime. You already know. The moment Steph kicks off Destiny, I knew this shit wasn't AI. The crackle of the unmastered guitars sounded too pure, blessed, and innocent. Chi makes the bass sing to the point I thought someone was humming in the background. Unlike his usual stream of consciousness lyrics, Chino was more intentional on this album. Would I say literal though? I watch her take the stage, dance around the throne of light. I watch her take the blow, strip her armor down, and bow. You tell me if that's figurative or literal. I'd say it would have to be both. Comparing the initial release to the Fanmaster track, the initial release had Chino overpowering the instrumentation. The Fanmaster track then had the instruments swallow Chino's voice. But the latter brought out a brightness in the mix that revealed an invigorating intro to Eros that was like a shot of caffeine. I was cautiously excited to see what would be next. On Brenda, a menacing feedback of reverb leads us to a drum solo from Abe before being joined by Frank on keys. The verse is sparse and one wonders if something really is missing. It genuinely could have been a creative decision because when the chorus kicks in with not one but both guitars, it is deeply gratifying. It's like a striptease in reverse. Nothing is missing when all your clothes are on. Indeed, too much is not missing. Then a flash, a pop of color and skin. The first tease is the chorus. Then a return to normal before a progressive undressing that becomes more and more exhilarating the more skin is revealed and the more the wall of sound motorboats you into submission. She's safe, you're doomed. After years of trying to decipher this strange song, we finally have a studio recording of Melanie. Why did I consider it strange? Well, beside the noisy recordings, I thought it sounded clunky and that the band wasn't in sync. How wrong was I? Now in hearing the studio recording, I'm like, oh, okay. It's a 3/8 time signature throughout the track with retardando and a change in tempo from verse to chorus. At least I think it's a 3/8 time signature. If it was a typical 4/4 with a consistent tempo, admittedly, the song would be boring. Now, I totally get why this was the first track off Eros they played live and why they played it twice. This must be hella fun to play. The syncopation in Melanie is unlike any other track in Deftones' discography. I'm seriously starting to question the decision to shelve the project because there ain't no way they don't listen to this from time to time. At this point, each of these tracks were last updated on January 10, 2009, including the following track, the legendary Dallas, that we initially were taught to call Smile from Chino's leak on the 1-year anniversary of Chi's death. What Chino released is an updated and different version, better mixed, mastered, and with less vocal harmonies in the chorus than the 2026 leak. Still, an extremely sexy song. Innuendos are sprinkled liberally throughout. Chi goes absolutely mental on the track. I don't think we've ever heard him like that. The man was like water, totally in the flow. Actually, come to think of it, this 2026 leak sounds better produced than all the other 2026 leaks of the tracks in the album. Maybe it's my imagination since we already had the track, but I don't think so. The 2014 leak was somewhat cleaner in parts, somewhat muddier in parts than the 2026. Regardless, they're both wet, moisturized, just in different places. I think we've caught Chino bumbledeeing throughout Margot. The lyrics are speculative, but it's been described to me as one of the band's most positive and uplifting songs. I agree. There's a progression from naivety to poise that never matures to a point of ingratitude. In other words, it sounds like young love, new, fresh, growing in confidence, but never being spoiled by the distractions or temptations of another. It's so innocent and cute. When the fuck have you ever heard me describe a Deftones song as cute? Motherfucker, is that an acoustic guitar in the bridge? Look, bravo to whoever came up with that idea because it made the song so much more intimate. We've moved from lap dances at the strip club and reverted to our first introductions of romance and love. Which brings us to, I need to address something. I promise, I'm not belaboring this point, but I need to make it again so that you understand what I'm about to say next. Okay. So look, I I honor and accept that theft is bad. I do not condone what was done and how y'all's privacy was violated, Deftones. I get it. I respect that. But how dare you? I'm sorry. I don't have the right to say that. It's not my music. It's y'all private music. Forgive the pun. But don't you think that people, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be upset. We have Beauty School, Entombed, Sex Tape, Headless, I Think About You All the Time, Digital Bath. But as beautiful as she is, Digital Bath had a sexier cousin. Didn't she? Bro, I guess I just don't understand, you know? I don't get it. We're at track 6, right? There hasn't been a misstep once. There hasn't been a misstep in an album that isn't even complete. I'm so confused. You know, let me get back to this motherfucking topic before these people lose their patience with me. Okay. The 6th track of Eros, the greatest album ever leaked, is titled Candy. What does Candy mean to me? Candy is Digital Bath's sexier cousin that you made out with in the pool house's bathroom after staring at each other for hours. You never knew chlorine could taste so sweet. Thank you. I swear, bro. I can't believe these motherfuckers weren't going to release this. 17 years? I don't have a right. I don't have a right to be upset. It's not mine. Listen, the drum intro soaked in reverb, the simple chord progression, the one sentence chorus. That's Digital Bath. But they did it again? In a different way? Nah, bro. Listen, how do you feel when that wall of sound fucks your shit up in the chorus? I'm in pain. I'm so fucking happy that it's gotten to the point of physical pain. Also, can we appreciate the lyrical ambiguity of this shit that allows us to just project whatever the fuck we want, whatever the fuck we feel? Because, listen, if I think he sang I Don't Know Why, I feel like I've been hit by the orb of confusion. If I think he sang I'ma Get Wild, I feel completely fucking different. Personally, I'm partial to the latter. It's probably why I sound like I'm losing my goddamn mind. Listen, man. It proves that the words you use actually do make a difference when listening to music. I swear to God, bro. Oh my God, bro. Life would be so shit if I never knew this band. Okay, what the fuck is next? Oh, Sable, great. Fuck me. Look, I'm getting massive post-hardcore vibes from the intro before Chino resumes his scat rap thing that I don't think I've heard since Labial. Bro, I swear, I don't think we will ever defeat the sex-obsessed accusations when we remember there's a track called Labial when listening to an album named Eros, when the songs are named after strippers. We will never beat those accusations. Nevertheless, Sable is quite charming and fun. I still get the sense that we're not necessarily back in the strip club. I'm not complaining, but things have taken a more adult, riskier, and potentially more rewarding route. If you're gonna waste time, let it be her. Kill a track. Electro, perfectly named. Heavy, punishing, and the bridge gives you a chance to catch your breath before returning to the chorus and polarizing you to death in the outro. Now after this one, what's the best breakdown in the Deftones discography now? Also, doesn't this kind of sound like a Deftones / System of a Down hybrid track? Just needed some bars about for-profit prisons and shit. It's incredible to hear Chino rap on 2 consecutive tracks on an album from 2008-2009. I feel like they were having a ton of fun. And Abe wasn't kidding when he said to Revolver in December 08 that Eros had jarring knife in your neck parts, but with floating on clouds, beautiful things too. We have had a feast of both thus far. We've even had Chino on auto-tune. And we're still not done. After listening to Tempest, the track Chi was gushing about back in the day, I had an impulse to later listen to When Girls Telephone Boys. Are they heavy as fuck? Check. With a shitload of groove? Check. I think When Girls Telephone Boys wins in both categories. Tempest, however, is the more dynamic track of the two. But which of the two is sexier? Gotta be Tempest. No way around that. We're back in the strip club and a fight just broke out. Also, the band said they didn't use anything from Eros in any future projects. I believe they were telling the truth. You can sense a but I couldn't help but hear a similarity in Chino's screams in the pre-chorus of Tempest and the screams in the verses of Control Command. It's minimal and probably unintentional, but I couldn't get the comparison out of my head. Diamond is an interesting one. I'm gonna say something wild, but let me just land the point. The verses are ugly, discordant, a Frankenstein of sound. One would think that the gem that shines the brightest would be the most brilliant. Even into the chorus, it feels like a Tuesday afternoon at the strip club. To put it bluntly, that ain't prime time. And yet, when the extended outro plays, the contrast in sound could not be more stark. It's uplifting, motivational, almost like she's leaving the dim lights, smoke and slime of the club and getting into the fresh air and sunlight. We would never enjoy such a transformation had it not been for the discordant, depressing cacophony we heard at first. It's like if the truism, "It's darkest before the dawn," had a theme song. But now we're at the end. The Eros jam that someone called Dallas, and that we all continue to call Dallas, apparently has vocals now. Oh shit. Yo, I don't know about you, but I had to tell myself, calm the fuck down. Calm down with the expectations. Let the band surprise you. Chill out. Ladies and gentlemen, in my opinion, Brianna is one of the best closing tracks in Deftones' discography. But how unfortunate is it that it feels incomplete? Brianna is too sanguine for the strip club, but not too sweet to disqualify her as sexy. The dominant notes are of sophistication and joy, but there's an edginess within that changes the complexion slightly closer to dusk, making a movie with the girl on top with the lit cigarette, but you both are running out again and again. That line may evoke a feeling of abandonment, but the tone of the song makes it clear. There's always a return. There's always a return. When Chino spoke to Blabbermouth in September 2007 saying, "Our working relationship is better than it's ever been before. As a result, everything has improved. Our friendships and our lives, we're all really happy now." Almost 19 years after that quote was made, we can confidently say he was right. We hear it loud and clear. The leak of Eros has been a puzzle piece that has finally completed a picture within my heart. A picture that is still evolving. Such is the dynamism of music. Not only do we appreciate the variance in sound, tempo, key, and timbre, but as we change, our relationship to music changes as well. Eros has functioned as a time machine. I remain my old ass self but returned to my younger ass self with tears in my eyes, telling him the wait was really worth it. Not only did it live up to its lofty expectation, bitch, it exceeded it. We know that AI datasets have used Deftones music. We can literally search it for ourselves. So it was only natural to question if the album was done using artificial intelligence. But, and I mean no offense by this, but if you have soul and you're in touch with it, because that's important, if you have soul and if you're in touch with it, you can recognize it. But then again, the random talking through the vocoder at the end of Margot, why would AI create that? Why is there an acoustic guitar in Margot? Why is there an acoustic guitar at all? Why would you need a third vocal layer for Dallas's chorus when you had the blueprint from 2014? Why not create more of a variant at the end of Brianna? Why create such discordant verses for Diamond? And why not have more solid lyrics for us to digest? Oh, that's right, because it's not AI. Look, I don't doubt its growing efficacy to clone a style. But, I mean, you see the irony with that, right? I mean, that's also stealing, isn't it? I don't know if I need to say this for a third time, but I guess it can't hurt. Deftones fans are not happy that the band was violated, whether by AI or by mystery men with links to senior engineers who leak shit just to prevent others from selling what they already sold. So perhaps what we can do as fans is just to continue to support the band, buying merch, buying records, and seeing them in concert. Dia de los Deftones pre-sales opened up just the other day. I mean, look, if the band is trending like crazy because of the leak, it makes sense to seize the opportunity. But I like what this commenter said. If people feel conflicted about listening to it, maybe make a small donation to a road trauma or neurological hospital cause or charity. I love that. That way, we continue to show our solidarity to the band, continue to listen to Eros, and quench any guilt we might feel. I know a lot of us don't feel guilty at all because we've been supporting the band for years and years. And like I said, we listen to Eros because we love Deftones. So, one more time, buckle the fuck up for Chi. And thank you for watching.